All right. Well, we have a very special guest today. I'm excited. Casper Van Dien. And now I have to say, we have a mutual person that we know, Daniel Lusko. You've worked
Oh
with.
yes, yes, I have worked with Daniel Lesko.
Yes. In
Been
any
many
case,
years, been many years, many
yeah,
many years.
800 mile per hour storm, I think it was.
Yes, it was, it was, it was.
Yes. In any case, I digress. We're here to talk about all the things. Casper, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. And happy early holidays to you. This is a treat for us.
Oh, it's fun for me. I mean, I love doing these things, and my publicist when he called me for this one, I was just like, yes, absolutely.
Well, interestingly enough, I just introduced my 10-year-old over the Thanksgiving to Starship Troopers for the first time. And he is obsessed with the hoppers, all the
That's
things. And our little saying now, when we're trying to get things done, is I'm doing my part or I've done my part. Like that's our little mantra
oh,
now.
that's excellent. Well,
Yes.
does your son play video games?
Oh, he's obsessed. Yeah. So that's what I was going to get to, the VR version of the film.
Oh yeah, there's Starship Troopers Continuum, the VR, and there's which I stream on Twitch as Casper Van Dien sometimes, and there's Starship Troopers Extermination, which is a six-person shooter that I play all the time on my PC and stream it as well. I was just got off of that too. I was doing that earlier.
How fun is it for fans to connect with you in that way? Because that's such an iconic role for you. I mean, you've done many other things, obviously, Alita Battle Angel. I mean, the list goes on, but I would imagine Starship Troopers is just one it's just who people synonymously know you with.
Well, yeah, even Alita Battle Angel, all Robert Rodriguez wanted to talk to me about was Starship Troopers while I was filming my day and with the scene with Christoph Waltz, and he goes, I kind of envision like this is Rico in the future if he had been a drug addict, for my character Muck. So even that was like seen. So yes, I've definitely been seen as Starship Troopers, and it's something that people have just yelled quotes at me all the time, like "kill them all," which is not a normal thing for people to yell at you, but my kids grew up with that happening to me and everything. And now I'm playing these two video games. I started streaming, and I stream as Casper Van Dien, but in the game I play General J Rico in both Continuum and in Extermination. So in the VR game and in the 16-person shooter, I play it all the time with people, and they're like, "I can't believe you're actually playing this game with us." But I always wanted this, and my kids are all grown up, so now I can play games when I want to, when I'm not working or my wife's watching some show I don't feel like watching. I go play some games, and I play it as me, and everybody knows it's me, and it's been fun. It's only been recent. I've only been doing this last couple of months, so that's new.
That's very cool. Well, I want to ask you about that because back in the 2020 aughts, we had Jake Busey on, and he builds electric motorcycles, and he was in the process of designing a Starship Troopers electric motorcycle. He had this idea, but he had mentioned this idea about when that film was coming about and being discussed. Like, I think he said it was kind of like this Top Gun-esque idea that they had come up with, where they had the planes flying and the aliens. Is that an accurate assumption of that? Because the film, I remember seeing it in theaters, and it just, from what I remember, crushed right away when it first came out because it was something different than anybody had ever seen before.
They really wanted it to do better, and I mean, they had toys for it and everything like that. It was really geared towards kids, but it had that adult theme, and it had they were trying to get a PG-13, so it would have been, a bigger. I think it went over the heads of a lot of people at the time. It doesn't seem to anymore. People really seem to get it now, and people have revisited it and they really love it. It's had legs because I think the satire that is in it and the special effects and the way Verhoeven is as a filmmaker, he's just incredible. But I mean, this movie, there's a lot of movies from the '97 that we don't talk about and stuff like that. And here's one that I mean, for me, I don't know if it's that way for every actor or whatever, but I mean, this is a role that people literally just everywhere I go, they want to talk to me about it every day. I mean, there's not a
Does
day
it
that
ever
goes
get
by.
exhausting? Like you're like, I've talked about this as I mention it to you tongue in cheek, but I'm just interested because to have yourself associated with a fictional character for years, I mean, that doesn't happen horribly often, unless it's like maybe an Office or a Breaking Bad, of more recent times. But for you to be synonymously known for that, I mean, because you've done other amazing things too that I've had the pleasure of watching and enjoying for sure.
I thank you. It never gets tiring. I mean, and the thing is, I'll give you an example. I was streaming the other night with this game with a whole bunch of people that are fans of the movie and the game now, the Extermination game. And I got a message from a producer of a Western I just did called Guns of Redemption. And one of the actors that I wrote in, who had this nice little arc, he died in a car crash. And it hit me really hard. I knew him from the set, pretty much only from the set, and we hung out on there. We were riding horses together, but he died in a car crash, left his family, and everything, and it hit me. And everybody in the stream just, I was crying, and I decided to stay on and just experience it. But the love and support was just overwhelming, and the people were all doing things even in the game, they afterwards are like, hold on. And they all got it. And they did like a 16 gun salute in the game. All the guys stood up and lined up together, which I hadn't done since I'd been in military school. So, the way this game affects people and the way they come in and they just come around me and they're always positive to me about it. I mean, when they yell the quote from me and they're like, kill them all or something like that, they're doing it out of love. So no matter what I'm going through at the time, I always try to, and I've always said this, I always try to just try to meet them at that point because this is something that means something to them. Or so a lot of times people want to share that it was like a movie they saw with their father before he passed, or a movie they really got together with, or something that got them to join the military, or something they bonded in over that, or whatever became an actor for. So whatever experience that I'm going through in the moment, I never want to take it away from them in that. And even when I was playing the game, I wanted to still be in it, and I let my emotions show that I was affected and everything. I didn't hide that in there. And they're like, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "No, you know what? I'm gonna get through it, and we're gonna go through it." And they gave back to me there at the time. So I think that it's always been like a giving back to me, even when I'm in something bad. Their kind of enthusiasm and appreciation for something I did 28 years ago. Uh, it's overwhelmingly it's been a gift for me. So no, I don't think I've ever been upset or angry with anybody who's ever recognized or honored it. It's always been something that's been pretty powerful.
That's very cool. Just a quick callback. It's interesting. You have a director like Robert Rodriguez or whomever that puts you in a film, and like they, in a sense, not necessarily grew up, but came up watching you in that movie, and they have you come on to the set to do something completely different, but yet they're the child and then comes out of them and they want to talk to you about that. I mean, that has to make you feel amazing. I mean, just to have that kind of effect on pop culture and entertainment. I mean, again, not something I feel like that happens a lot.
Well,
Maybe a,
yeah, you're lucky if you get one, if you ever even get one. So, like, there was another night I was out with the Scream Awards. I went to the Scream Awards and like, I don't know, it had to be in like 2012 or something like that. I don't know when it was. And I have a picture up on my Instagram somewhere, but in that picture was I met Robert Rodriguez that day, but I also was in the picture. I'm in with Quentin Tarantino, uh, Ed Newmeyer, who was with me. We just went together that night. And Roger Avery and Eli Roth, James Wan, and Edgar Wright Jr. and a couple actors and us, and we're just sitting talking. And all they wanted to talk at the after party was they wanted to talk to Ed about and me, but mostly Ed because he's the writer of it, about why Starship Troopers was one of the greatest movies ever and what it meant to all of them. And so for 3 hours, we just heard all this. And I invited Ed to go with me because my ex-wife didn't want to go with me at the time. So I was like, "Hey, Ed, you want to go to this thing?" He's like, "Yeah, let's go." He always went with me. He's one of my best friends. So we just go. He goes, "Dude, that was such a great night. All they wanted to talk about." And he forgets that he wrote Starship Troopers, the movie, not the book. The book was written by Highline, and he also wrote RoboCop. And so he forgets sometimes. Like these guys were all like going, "This is why it's such a great movie." And mostly Quentin was talking that night because that's Quentin Tarantino. He's got a memory that's amazing because it's like he had just seen the movie. He went over scene by scene, pretty much like we're there for 3 hours, and he explained the movie why it was so great for like 3 hours, with all these other filmmakers chiming in and doing their take of why it was important to them too. It was really a surreal moment.
That's very cool. Now your kids grew up. I'm a dad. I have a 10-year-old, so I'm a late bloomer in that sense, but you had kids growing up watching you do all these things. Did they at ever any point express an interest in doing what you did if you brought them to set and had them watch? Or I mean, obviously they're grown up now and doing their own thing. So,
Well, I mean, they all doing their own thing, and they're a lot more private and everything like that. I have only one actor out of them all. I mean, I'm sure the others would act, but they're not. There's only one that really, like got the bug and wanted to do it. And she was on Stranger Things, Grace Van Dien. She was born during Starship Troopers, actually.
oh wow.
So, she's 28 years old, and she was in Stranger Things. She was Chrissy, and she's in all these movies, and she's actually one of the ones I've streamed with a little bit because she does that too. She's very proactive. She's a writer. She's so talented. She's always doing all these movies. So she's got the bug pretty bad, and she's pretty good at it. She's better than I am. So
Oh
I'm
yeah, that's always good to hear though, right? When your
yeah,
kids surpass what you do, I think, no
yeah.
matter what it is that they do.
She's super talented. So I'm really grateful for that. And, she was on all the sets growing up and being around. So she's born during that one. So it's pretty powerful to have that. But yeah, they were all witness to it. They're all privy to it, and the others not so impressed with it. But Grace is she's always I just something she does, and she's always, hey Dad, you should do this, you should do that. She's good idea, but she still calls me up for advice sometimes,
That's
and she
cool.
gives me even better advice. So that's awesome, to have that.
I think as a parent, that's just the best thing, right? To have your kid admire what you do and to even take interest in it, like streaming with you. I mean, that's just cool. You know what I'm saying? Like to have built this legacy that has lasted a lifetime and to have that generational wealth, so to speak, of your kids just being interested in what you're doing. I think that's so cool. When you started acting, like what was it that interested you in it? Like was there one thing that you saw or that you were exposed to that made you decide to be an actor and storyteller, or was it just a process over time? Did it choose you?
I think it's and like kind of like just a a lot of different factors, and all of those were probably parts of it. But I think my parents were both educators, and I grew up and just had a love for movies, and I'd watch movies. My dad would introduce me to different movies and films, and they'd take me to off-Broadway shows and Broadway shows, and I'd go kicking and screaming, come back singing and dancing, and I just would watch movies and read literature, read a lot of books, and reading a lot of the books that, I mean, I had read Starship Troopers before when I was a kid. I read the Tarzan books when I was a kid. I read Sleepy Hollow when I was a kid. And then I'm in these movies as characters that I read when I was young, which was really kind of surreal. But I think it's because my parents just introduced me to arts, and I got taken away. And I'd watch films, and then I'd go, wow, who directed this one? And then I'd want to watch other films that they directed, which I think was unique for me and my family. So I think sometimes it's like something that's born in you that is different than other people, because also people go, wow, I want to come to a movie set. I think that's amazing. It's got to be so romantic or this and this. And then they come, and within an hour of being on set, they're like, ah, yeah, this has been great. I gotta go now. So, but there's like, I'd say maybe 1%, maybe less than 1% are like, man, this is awesome. I could be here all day. Then I'm like, one of us, because they're like the people that get this. This business is completely crazy, because you could have a normal job where you have normal hours, or you can have insane hours that are just random, and you can get rejected all the time for being too tall, too short, too thin, too fat, too young, too old, too whatever, too new, too established or not, whatever it is, every excuse they want to give you for not being. Let me put my phone on do not disturb, so because it keeps binging and dinging, and I just don't want that to happen. There we go. Do not disturb. So we don't, we never know. But I just knew I had something different. And when I decided to go out to Hollywood to give it a shot after going to an all-guy military school and then Florida State for a year, and then thinking I was going to go back to college, but thought, you know what, I'll just go to Hollywood and mess around, see what can happen for a year. And then it just kept getting longer because I kept going, wait a minute. And then I kept taking classes and kept going and getting small jobs here and there. And then it just hit for me. So
Yeah, I love that. It is very true about the fact of a movie set can be very alluring, but when you're there, it's a long day, and there's only so much craft service and catering you can partake in
And
before.
if you're on front and in front of the camera, you do not want to do that because you will gain weight in and it will show because it will not, like, depending on how long the shoot is. I mean, there's different actors that have been in roles where you see them like in one scene they're really thin and in another one they're like 30 pounds heavier because they shot that later in the movie and they went to the craft service and they've gone, oh my God, that was at the craft service table. So you learn about these things. So you go, gotta be real strict about what you do. It's really a difficult thing. And literally you're never under like a 12-hour day. And that's the actors. And the crew, they're there before and after, but then the actors also have to go study and learn all their lines. So they're even doing all that beforehand and everything they have to do to get ready for that too, which is so there's the hours are just insane. And sometimes it's 6 days a week. Sometimes they're, never. Starship Troopers, we were like never under a 14-hour day and we were 6 days a week.
That's incredible. I mean, looking back on all the amazing directors you've worked with, you've mentioned a few. Is
Tim
there one
Burton.
or two, Casper, that you really connected with and really influenced you in the way that you approach the set, the way that you approach a role in particular?
But, Verhoeven is definitely the biggest influence in my life and my career. He pretty much gave me my career. So, I mean, I owe everything to him. And then Tim Burton also, I mean, taking a chance on me too, just to have the two of them. And there's many other directors that have helped me in many ways and giving me a lot of tools. I think everything that we do is a stepping stone. I mean, there's, agents and managers and all the different ones I've had throughout my career. I've been very fortunate for them in the way they believed in me and trusted me and the way I have the manager I have now and the agent I have now who are just incredible and they're just the perfect fit. It just came for me at the right time. And then, my family, there's so many things, but Verhoeven and Tim Burton would be the two, they were the beginning of my real career as an actor. And then there's many TV directors and producers also that helped influence me. But those two really just, watching how good they are at their job. And Robert Rodriguez, but I only got to work one day with him. But I mean, it was awesome. I mean, you look at those guys and you're like, oh my God, I've gotten to work with people that some actors are like, I can't believe you got to work with him. And I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that way, and I feel blessed, and I'm just it's just an exciting thing. I get to do what I love with people that are just I'm awed, and I'm also with the young filmmakers. When you work with them, you're learning so much because they have such a passion for filmmaking, and you're like, oh man, this is awesome. I remember that.
It
I
kind of
know that.
reminds you of why you do what you do, I would think.
100%, 100%, 100%.
I think that's really cool because they haven't been jaded necessarily or like had the bad experiences, or they just get to make a movie and they get to make it with somebody like yourself who is, you. So that has to be fun for them. And then they want to talk about Starship Troopers, which
Yeah, they all want to talk about Starship Troopers. I mean, even Tim Burton wanted to talk about Starship Troopers. And
wow.
the thing is, I've run into this last year. I've seen Tim Burton and Paul Verhoeven, and they're both just as awesome as they ever were. And they're so full of energy, and they're so kind, and I'm very lucky in that way. Verhoeven was a bit of a screamer on set. He always is because he's so passionate. And Tim Burton never yells, or he's just cool all the time. I mean, they're both two incredible directors, both always very artistic, always drawing, very professional, got everything done, always hands-on, always involved. I mean, their professionalism and their intensity knows no bounds. It's incredible to see their work ethic and see how involved they are with every bit of the process. And that's probably why they're such great directors because they're involved in the process. So they're not they're of course the directors, so they have final say in everything, but they work with each person. They go in their department. They just don't leave it to them. They come in and they're involved in it, and that's amazing. And to
I
have that
love
much
it.
energy is incredible too as for director.
Yeah. And again, it's such an organic process to do any of this. And it's very long days and it's hours upon hours. And just to maybe get one shot and then your coverage and then the other person's coverage, but then to see the final product is very cool. Well, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you real quick, I'll let you go. Where can those games that you're a part of, the streaming games, the Starship Troopers, where can people get access to those if they want to play? I'm going to do it after we're done here because I want to try the 6-person shooter. I think that sounds amazing.
It's a 16-person shooter. It's called Starship Troopers Extermination, and you can play that. I play on PC, but and I play off of Twitch where I'm Casper Van Dien. In the game, I'm General Jericho, but if you go into my Twitch, you'll see that I'm playing the game, and you'll see me playing it, and everybody sees it, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't really believe you're actually doing this," because I do. So you can go on Twitch and get it, but you can get Extermination. You can play it on PC, PlayStation 5, or Xbox, and it's crossplay, and it's a 16-person shooter. And you can be a sniper, an engineer, a medic, a demolisher. You fight all the bugs from all 5 movies in that one. And it's amazing. And in the VR game, Starship Troopers Continuum, I also play that on Twitch. And I've been doing giveaways because for the Extermination and the Continuum has said they would give me keys too for it too. So I've been giving some free games away and when we do my streams and stuff like that. So a lot of people are getting it. It's been so much fun for doing that. But that one you can play on the Oculus and soon PlayStation 5, the VR headset for that. And I play that one as General J Rico too, but all through my Twitch, which is just Casper Van Dien. And I'm new to streaming, but I'm having so much fun. Set up an account where even the credits in it are Federation credits, and then I do emotes from which are just different pictures of me and stuff like that, and bugs and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun from the game and from the movie universe. So that's it's a lot of fun, and people can do that. And also you can find out through my Twitter or my Instagram. I put it up on there sometimes too, which is just Casper Van Dien. So all CasperVandien. All
Yeah,
of it.
it's interesting in the age of all the streaming now and with shows being brought back to life. I'm surprised Starship Troopers is not one. Have you ever been asked? You're smiling because okay, can you talk about that? I don't know what you're going to
Oh yeah,
say.
oh absolutely. Right now, there's a petition going out to get either a Starship Troopers movie rebooted right now, and I'm not in control of that petition, but I've put it up on my Twitch as well, and I fully support it, and it has mine. I almost had a series up with Robert Rodriguez about 7 years ago. The people from Sony heard that he and I were talking about Starship Troopers the whole time when we were shooting Alita Battle Angel, and so they called me up and they said, "Hey, do you think," one of the producers that I knew from Sony that had worked on some of the other Starship Troopers said, "Hey, the television part wants to know if Robert Rodriguez would be interested in doing the TV series because they'd be interested in doing it with him." So I called him and he goes, "Yeah, let's talk about it." So he and Ed, he goes, "Get Ed on the phone." So he and Ed and I did all these, we did like 7 Skype interviews where we had it all done, where it was going to be Old Man Rico set up where training new troops and then they get into a shitstorm, basically, excuse me, a crazy
You're good.
storm.
That's essentially what it is. Long live the
Yeah.
Federation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I have to go in and help him out. So they were like, and Robert's like, "Okay, we got to get in. We got to take this in." And he was so awesome, so excited. And then they had a changing the guard at Sony, and Robert calls me up, like, "Hey, I can go in next month. I'll be in LA. Let's do this. Let's do it." And I call him, I go, "They just told me they had a change in the guard and they're going to put it on hold." And he goes, "Oh," and he did all of that work, and Ed did all that work for free. And me, but I mean, I would have done it anyhow. I would have done the movie for free. But and then then they came back a year later and they go, "Hey, do you think, the new people would be interested in Robert doing it?" And I'm like, ah. So I call him up and he goes, "Casper, I'm locked into Book of Boba Fett with Disney," so he couldn't do it again. And I think, he had put so much work and effort into it, and his ideas were so incredible. I'm going to tell you, it was amazing. So we almost had it up, but I think it's prime, especially with these 2 series. I've done the voiceover for both of them, and there's another one called Starship Troopers Terran Command, which is another one that I'm going to play soon on my Twitch, but it's only one person. It's like a strategy game. I didn't do a voiceover for that, but I'm going to play it anyhow. And there's been so many games that are like Starship Troopers, like Halo or Gears of War or Helldivers 2. All these games are similar. So many games are tributes. So many people are itching for it. And then they have like, the Master Chief, where they have all these things that come out, which are shows that, could have been like it. But I think with the political satire, the way it's done like that, and all the different bugs and the way it is, I think it's so prime for a series, in my opinion. I think it would be a mistake if Sony doesn't do it. And I'm hoping someday they get somehow they get the wind of it and they decide to do it because I think it would be amazing and I'd be all in 100%. And I know there'd be a lot of troopers watching, a lot of people wanting to play and come along. And I think it could go along with the universe of the game. The people at Offworld that created Starship Troopers Extermination, the 16 person, when you see it, you're going to be amazed because it is exactly like being in the movie. And then when you play Starship Troopers Continuum, it's like going into an old video game, but being in it, but as Starship Troopers. So it's so cool. There's two unique, totally cool Starship Troopers games. Did the voiceover for both of them, and I'm playing both of them, and I think they could help lead to a series. I hope. That's what I think it should do. I mean, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of like 5 or 6 movies or shows that are definitely tributes to Starship, and even directors I've spoken to who have been influenced in some
so many.
way from that. There was one that was on Apple TV, I don't know, like a year ago that was sort of like, I asked the director, I said, "Have you seen this film?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I grew up," which is weird to hear watching that. And now he's directing a series. So it's cool, man. You've left the world an amazing legacy, I really have to say. And I'm excited to expose my kid to what you've created. So I appreciate you hanging out.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I mean, it is so much fun for me to have something like this and to have people get so excited about it and have all the different directors, like the guy from Spartacus. There were so many quotes when the series was out. There were so many quotes from Starship Troopers, and people would always send them to me. And then I became friends with him. He's like, "Yeah, I totally was influenced by that." And then I was talking to the Jack from The Boys.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he met me and Michael Einstein, and he goes, "Oh my God," he goes, there would be no boys without Starship Troopers, and that's because of the
Wow.
satire that's in the boys and everything like that. And I was just now he's just being he's a kind man, and he's so tall. I had no idea that he's just such a tall young man, but he was so kind and so giving in that way, and it was awesome to hear him say that without Starship Troopers there wouldn't be that because there's not the satire and the that kind of sense of humor where people don't necessarily get it, but it's there and it's pretty straightforward, even though it's not, and you can interpret it however you want to. That's awesome. And for him to say that to me, I was humbled. And
Yeah, I mean,
Jack Quaid.
watching it now, it's very clear that it's there, because I'm 50, so I mean, I was like in the 90s. So yeah, I mean, I was in the military around that time when it came out.
Well, thank you for your
Very
service.
cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Casper, for your time. Excited to see what's next. Of course, Guns of Redemption, which sounds very cool, and all the other things that you might have going on. So I appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate yours. What branch were you?
I was in the Air Force for 8 years.
Well, thank you for your service. Death from above. Look at you. There you
Yeah,
go.
death from above. I
There you
love
go.
it.
Outstanding Super Bowl. We need you. Come fight. Come kill some bugs with me. Come play with me.
I
I'm gonna
totally would.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
I will. Thank you, Casper. I appreciate your time, my
Thank
friend.
you so much. All right.